A deep growl rumbles from the mist-shrouded banks of the river Styx. This is the voice of Cerberus, the legendary three-headed hound of Hades, and he guards the most forbidden border of all. But his story is not just an ancient scare tactic. We're going to unmask the profound spiritual secrets hidden within this monstrous form, revealing what the three-headed dog truly means for your own mind and the mysteries of the afterlife. By the end, you will understand the hidden keys to navigating your own deepest fears and unlocking profound personal power. So what is the real price of passage past those three sets of jaws, and what cosmic truth do they protect? What part of your own inner world feels guarded by a beast you cannot yet name? This monstrous guardian was born from the most chaotic bloodline in all of mythology. His mother was Echidna, a half-woman, half-serpent creature, and his father was Typhon, a fire-breathing giant so terrifying he was called the father of all monsters. Cerberus belonged to a family of pure primordial disorder. His siblings were not ordinary beasts. They were the multi-headed Hydra, the lion, goat, serpent, chimera, and other legendary creatures of devastation. So from his very origin, Cerberus was not merely a pet. He was an embodiment of ancient, untamed power, purpose-bred for a specific and terrifying duty. His physical form was a nightmare crafted to perfection. Beyond the three ferocious heads, each capable of independent thought and action, his back was lined with a writhing mane of live snakes, their hisses adding a chilling chorus to his growls. A serpent served as his tail, a venomous threat poised to strike from behind. Ancient texts describe him as impossibly large, a creature whose shadow alone could make a soul tremble. This was the horror that awaited the newly deceased at the banks of the river Styx. His purpose was deceptively simple, yet absolute. Cerberus was the ultimate one-way gatekeeper. His first duty was to prevent any living mortal from foolishly trespassing into the land of the dead, a realm not meant for their eyes. But his second and perhaps more crucial task was to ensure that no shade, once across the river, could ever find its way back out. He was the final living lock on the door to the underworld, enforcing the most fundamental law of existence, the irreversible separation between the worlds of the living and the dead. So the next time you face an obstacle that feels absolute, a point of no return in your own life, remember the mythic precedent set at the river Styx. What does it mean that our oldest stories insist some thresholds are guarded so fiercely? This three-headed guardian is far from unique in the world's spiritual imagination. Across continents and cultures, a powerful archetype appears again and again, the threshold guardian. Ancient Egypt had the Sphinx, a creature with the body of a lion and the head of a human, who posed a deadly riddle to all who sought to pass. In the frozen north, Norse legends speak of Garmr, a blood-stained hound who guards the entrance to Hell's realm. And in the east, mighty dragons are often depicted coiled around priceless treasures or sacred pearls, not as hoarders, but as vigilant protectors of profound wisdom. These are not coincidences. They are echoes of a deep, universal understanding. What is this gate they all protect? It is the threshold itself, a symbol found in every spiritual tradition. The gate represents the moment of profound transition, the point of no return between one state of being and another. It stands between the world you know and the world you can only discover, between your waking consciousness and the vast, hidden territory of your own unconscious mind. Passing through this gate is never a simple walk. It is an initiation, a test that demands something from you before it grants access to the treasure on the other side, whether that treasure is hidden knowledge, spiritual awakening, or a new chapter of your life. This reframes our understanding of Cerberus completely. He is not merely a physical barrier to a subterranean kingdom. He is the living embodiment of the inner challenges and primal fears you must face to access a deeper level of understanding. Think of a moment in your own life when you stood at the brink of a major change, a new career, a commitment, a period of healing. The fear that rises up in that moment, the voice of doubt that says you are not ready, that you might fail, that is your personal Cerberus. His growl is the sound of your own resistance to transformation. His three sets of jaws represent the multiple fears that can attack you all at once: fear of the unknown, fear of loss, and fear of your own inadequacy. To pass such a guardian, whether in myth or in your own psyche, you cannot simply fight it with brute force. The hero Theseus needed more than strength to navigate the labyrinth, just as you need more than willpower to navigate a personal crisis. You need a different kind of key. You need insight, courage, and perhaps a piece of divine wisdom, symbolized by the honey cakes Orpheus used to lull the great Hound. So the next time you confront an obstacle that feels monstrous and immovable, ask yourself a deeper question: what profound transition is this beast actually guarding? And what hidden part of yourself must you finally offer to gain safe passage? That third head is not just a terrifying extra feature, it is the key to the entire symbol. 3 is a number of profound power and completion, echoing throughout spiritual traditions across the globe. We see it in the Christian Holy Trinity, the Hindu trimurti of Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, and of course, in the triple goddess of ancient pagan faiths, the maiden, mother, and crone, who represent the 3 phases of a woman's life and the eternal cycle of life itself. Cerberus, in his monstrous masculinity, is a dark reflection of this exact same universal principle. He is a trinity of terror, a guardian of the ultimate cycle, that of life and death. So what do these 3 heads truly watch over? One powerful interpretation is that they represent the complete dominion of time over the dead. One head forever gazes into the past, watching the lives the shades have left behind. Another is locked onto the eternal present of the underworld, the unchanging now of their existence. And the third head stares into the future, into a destiny that, for them, holds no more change. Together, they ensure that no soul can escape time's final judgment. But there is another, even more personal way to see this triad. They can represent the 3 states of your own consciousness. The first head is your waking, rational mind, the part of you that navigates the everyday world. The second is your vast and often hidden subconscious, the seat of your dreams, your instincts, and your forgotten memories. And the third is your superconscious mind, that spark of higher intuition or divine connection that glimpses truths beyond ordinary understanding. From this view, the gate of Hades that Cerberus guards is not a physical location. It is the barrier within you, the threshold between your ordinary awareness and the profound spiritual knowledge hidden in the depths of your own being. To pass this inner guardian, you are not fighting a monster. You are seeking to integrate these 3 parts of yourself. You must calm the snarling fears of your conscious mind, navigate the shadowy labyrinth of your subconscious, and finally appeal to the higher wisdom of your superconscious self to gain safe passage. This is the real initiation. It is the journey toward wholeness, where you stop seeing parts of yourself as enemies to be defeated and start recognizing them as the very components of your complete power. So when you feel stuck at a threshold in your own life, ask not how to destroy the beast at the gate, but what these 3 aspects of your own consciousness are going to tell you. So what are these 3 snarling faces you must confront in your own personal underworld? One head is pure, untamed instinct. This is the part of you ruled by raw hunger, immediate fear, and the primal urge for survival. It is the voice that screams to run from a challenge or to consume without thought. The second head is all unchecked emotion. This is the torrent of grief that feels endless, the blinding flash of rage, the clinging attachment to people or possessions that no longer serve your growth. And the third head is the distorted intellect. This is not true wisdom, but a mind trapped in its own labyrinth, spinning dogmatic beliefs, feeding paranoia, and fixating on every terrifying possibility the unknown might hold. Together, these 3 form the beast of your lower self, the untamed ego that guards the gate to your deeper spiritual nature. In esoteric traditions, the journey into Hades is never a literal trip to a land of the dead. It is the dark night of the soul, that profound and often painful period where your old sense of self falls apart. You are forced to descend into the depths of your own psyche, to walk the shores of your personal river Styx and come face to face with this 3-headed hound. The goal is not to slay Cerberus, for to destroy a part of yourself is to remain fractured. The secret is to master him, to calm his ferocious heads through understanding and integration. You must acknowledge your primal instincts without letting them control you. You must feel your powerful emotions without being drowned by them. And you must question your rigid intellectual beliefs without letting fear build new prisons for your mind. This is the ultimate alchemy of the self. Your raw instincts, when channeled, become a source of immense vitality and life force. Your deep emotions, when understood, become a wellspring of empathy and creative passion. Your intellect, when freed from dogma, becomes a tool for genuine insight and discernment. The guardian you feared becomes the source of your power, so the next time you feel trapped by a cycle of fear, grief, or obsessive thought, remember the three-headed hound waiting at your inner gate. What if that beast is not your jailer, but the keymaster to a more whole and authentic you? That writhing serpent tail is far more than a decorative threat. While the three heads command our attention, it is this final, coiling appendage that holds a profound and often overlooked secret. In the symbolic language of the ancients, the serpent is never just a creature of venom and fear. It is a universal emblem of life force, a raw power that moves through the earth and, metaphorically, through the very core of our own being. This is the chthonic power of Cerberus, the untamed energy of the underworld itself, which he both embodies and protects. This same concept appears in Eastern spiritual traditions as kundalini, a Sanskrit word meaning the coiled one. It is imagined as a serpent of immense potential lying dormant at the base of the human spine. When this primal energy is safely awakened through spiritual practice, it begins to uncoil and rise, traveling up through the subtle energy centers of the body known as chakras. This ascent is not a gentle process. It is a powerful upheaval that can bring profound psychological and spiritual transformation, burning away illusions and ultimately leading to a state of enlightened consciousness. The serpent tail of Cerberus is this exact same force, but in its raw, unintegrated state. It is the chaotic, subconscious power that can lash out unpredictably, the venomous thought patterns and deep-seated fears that can poison our progress if we approach them without respect and understanding. So what does it mean to overcome this particular aspect of the guardian? The mythic victory is not about severing the tail. It is about learning to approach this immense power without being struck by its venom. To pass Cerberus safely is to symbolically achieve the safe awakening and ascent of your own kundalini energy. You are not destroying the serpentine force. You are learning to channel it, to coax it from a state of defensive threat into a state of aligned, upward moving power. The monster at the gate thus transforms into your greatest ally. The very energy that once guarded the threshold of your deeper self becomes the fuel for your spiritual ascent. The chthonic power of the underworld, the raw material of your subconscious mind, is no longer a prison. It is the source of your rebirth, so when you feel that coiled tension of fear or primal resistance within you, ask yourself, is this a beast to be defeated or a dormant power waiting for the right key to awaken? This connection to the goddess Hecate adds an entirely new dimension to the hound's purpose. Hecate was a powerful and complex figure, the ancient goddess of magic, ghosts, and the crossroads. She was the guardian of the in-between places, the moments of profound choice where one path ends and another begins. And in some of the oldest myths, this three-headed guardian was considered her sacred companion. This is not a random pairing. It reveals that the gate Cerberus guards is far more than a simple entrance to the underworld. It is the ultimate crossroads. Think of the most significant turning points in your own life. The decision to leave a familiar job, to end a relationship, to move to a new city, or to finally confront a deep-seated fear. In those moments, you stand at a spiritual junction. The past is behind you, the future is unknown, and you are suspended in a potent, liminal space. This is Hecate's domain. She is the wisdom that illuminates the paths before you, the guide who understands the magic of transition itself, and Cerberus is the test you must face at that very spot. His three heads do not just snarl at the dead, they challenge the living at every major initiation. before you can step onto a new path of spiritual growth, you must first confront the beast of your own inner resistance. The head of instinct questions your courage, asking if you are truly ready to leave your comfort zone. The head of emotion floods you with nostalgia for what you are leaving behind or fear of the loneliness ahead. The head of intellect bombards you with doubts, analyzing every possible failure. This is the esoteric meaning of their partnership. Hecate offers the potential for transformation, for magical new beginnings, but Cerberus ensures you are truly prepared for the consequences of your choice. He is the guardian of the threshold, ensuring that only those who have faced their own multifaceted fears can proceed with the sacred knowledge that lies beyond. So the next time you find yourself paralyzed at a life crossroads, remember this ancient duo. The goddess presents the choice, but the hound demands you prove your readiness to walk the path. The most detailed map of this inner journey comes from an unexpected source, the 12th labor of Heracles. On the surface, it is a story of the ultimate strongman confronting the ultimate monster. But peel back that heroic veneer, and you will find a perfect blueprint for a shamanic initiation. Heracles is not just a muscle-bound hero, he is an initiate, and his quest to capture Cerberus is a step-by-step guide to navigating your own underworld. His first act is not to grab his club, it is to travel to the sacred site of Eleusis and undergo a ritual of purification. This is the essential first step for anyone approaching a profound spiritual challenge. You cannot enter the depths burdened by the grime of your everyday attachments and unresolved conflicts. The initiate must first be cleansed, symbolically shedding the old self to make space for the new. Only then does Heracles begin his descent, and he is not alone. The god Hermes, the divine psychopomp, guides his way. A psychopomp is a conductor of souls, a being who knows the pathways between worlds. In your own journey, this guide is not an external deity. It is your own higher intuition, that quiet, knowing voice within that can lead you through the confusing labyrinth of your own psyche when your conscious mind is lost. Together they descend, moving from the sunlit world of the familiar into the shadowy realm of the unknown. This is the shaman entering a trance state, the meditator plunging into deep stillness, the moment you close your eyes to the outer world to confront the reality within. His first major encounter is not with the hound, but with Hades himself, the lord of this shadowy domain. This is the critical moment of facing the ruler of your own shadow self. Hades is not evil. He is the absolute authority of the inner world, the keeper of all you have repressed, forgotten, or feared. To proceed, Heracles must approach him with respect and state his purpose. He cannot storm the gates and demand the hound. He must receive permission from the master of the house. This is the profound spiritual lesson that you must make peace with the very existence of your own darkness before you can hope to master the beasts that live within it. You must acknowledge that your fears and flaws have a rightful place in your psychic ecosystem. Only with this acceptance does Hades grant one condition. Heracles may take Cerberus, but he must do so without the use of any weapons. His legendary strength and his iconic club are useless here. This is the heart of the allegory. You cannot conquer your inner demons with brute force. You cannot simply will your fears away or intellectually argue your grief into submission. The command to use no weapons means you must master the beast through a different power entirely, the focused force of your own integrated will. Heracles approaches the raging guardian at the gate of Acron. He does not attack. He moves in, enduring the snarls, the bites, the hissing serpent mane, and he wraps his immense arms around the creature, not to choke the life from it, but to contain its chaotic energy. He holds on, squeezing the beast into submission through sheer, unwavering presence. This is the act of holding space for your own most terrifying aspects without running away, of facing your primal instincts, your emotional storms, and your toxic thoughts, and simply observing them with a calm, steady awareness until their frantic resistance finally exhausts itself. The beast is not killed, it is subdued, mastered, and then comes the final, most revealing stage of the initiation. Heracles does not leave the hound in the underworld. He temporarily brings Cerberus up to the surface world, into the light of day, before returning him to his post. This is the ultimate symbol of successful integration. The initiate does not destroy their shadow, they bring a part of it back with them, integrating that raw, primal power into their waking consciousness. The energy that once guarded their deepest fears is now a source of their profound personal power and hard-won knowledge. You have not erased your darkness. You have tamed it, and in doing so, you have made it a part of your strength. So what monstrous aspect of yourself have you been trying to fight with weapons that can never win? What would it mean to finally drop your arms, to step forward with bare hands, and simply hold the beast until it yields? But another hero chose a completely different path to bypass the guardian. Orpheus, the legendary musician, did not descend with a club or a sword. He carried only his lyre. His quest was one of pure heart, to retrieve his beloved Eurydice from the clutches of death. And when he stood before the snarling, three-headed beast at the gate of Hades, he did not brace for a fight. He began to play. The story says his music was so achingly beautiful, so perfectly harmonious, that the very stones wept. And Cerberus, the untamable monster of primal fear, slowly stilled. The growls softened, the serpent mane ceased its hissing, and the great hound lay down, lulled into a tranquil sleep, allowing the poet to pass. This is not a quaint fairy tale, it is a profound esoteric lesson written in the language of myth. The lyre of Orpheus was far more than a simple instrument. In the ancient mysteries, it was a symbol of cosmic order, of sacred geometry made audible. Its 7 strings were said to correspond to the 7 classical planets, the 7 notes of the musical scale, and the 7 core energies of the human soul. To play the lyre was not merely to create a pleasant melody, it was to actively tune the chaos of the world into a state of divine harmony, to align the vibrational fabric of reality with a higher, more perfect frequency. Orpheus, as a master initiate of these mysteries, understood the true nature of the beast before him. He saw that Cerberus was not a solid monster to be overpowered, but a coalescence of discordant energies. The 3 heads were a cacophony of conflicting instincts, emotions, and thoughts, a symphony of inner chaos, and he knew that chaos cannot be defeated by more chaos, by the violent clash of force against force. The only way to pacify such a creature was to introduce a vibration so coherent, so perfectly ordered, that the dissonance had no choice but to sync with it. His music was that vibration. This reveals a core occult principle. The lower, chaotic energies of our own psyche, the very ones that form our personal Cerberus, are not our enemies. They are simply out of tune. They are raw power vibrating at a frequency of fear, attachment, and separation. When you confront these aspects of yourself with judgment and brute willpower, you only add to the dissonance. You are one snarling head trying to fight the other 2. But when you approach them with the lyre of your own higher awareness, with the harmonious vibration of compassionate observation, you offer them a new frequency to entrain with. Think of a time when a piece of music completely shifted your mood, when a beautiful landscape quieted your anxious mind, or when an act of kindness dissolved your anger. In those moments, you experienced a small version of the Orphic miracle. You were not fighting your inner state. You were introducing a higher harmony that allowed the lower chaos to settle on its own. This is the path of the artist, the mystic, and the healer. It is the understanding that the gate to your deepest self, guarded by your most ferocious fears, may not require a battle at all. It may only be waiting for the right song. So what is the music that can calm the beast within you? What harmonious thought, what creative act, what vibration of love or beauty can you play to soothe your own snarling heads into a state of peaceful, yielding trust? Beneath the celestial music of Orpheus lies a more grounded truth. This 3-headed guardian is irrevocably bound to the classical element of Earth. His domain is the underworld, the deepest, most solid part of the cosmos, a realm of stone, silence, and absolute finality. Just as the earth receives all things, the dead and the decaying, without judgment, so too does Cerberus stand as the ultimate enforcer of this physical law. He represents the unyielding nature of material reality, the stubborn fact of the body's limits and its inevitable return to the soil. His energy is not one of airy thought or fiery passion, but of dense, immovable substance. To face him is to confront the most fundamental earth element truth we know, the reality of death itself, yet this confrontation is not meant to paralyze you with dread. In esoteric practice, mastering the earth element within is a critical step toward genuine power. It means grappling with your most tangible attachments, your fear of loss, your anxiety over financial security, and your identification with the physical form you inhabit. Cerberus guards the gate to your liberation from these material anxieties. When you stand before him, you are forced to ask what you are truly clinging to. Is it a possession you fear losing, a social status that defines you, or is it the very illusion that your physical existence is all that you are? By meeting his gaze, you begin the work of grounding your spirit so deeply in acceptance of these cycles that you can no longer be shaken by them. This understanding opens a fascinating, if sobering, door for spiritual practice. In certain traditions of ceremonial magic, the formidable energy of Cerberus could be invoked with immense caution for specific, earth-aligned workings. This is not about summoning a monster, but about consciously calling upon the principle of absolute boundaries and finality that he embodies. A magician might seek his guardian essence to cast a protective circle of unparalleled strength, one that is not merely a shimmer of energy, but a barrier with the solid, unbreachable quality of a tomb door. Others might invoke this archetype to deeply understand the necessary cycles of decay that make rebirth possible, to sit in meditation with the process of endings until they reveal their hidden seeds of beginning. The goal is always integration, not domination, to work with the raw power of the earth itself in its most stark and honest form, so the next time you feel trapped by material worry or a deep-seated fear of an ending, remember the Hound in the depths. His growl is the sound of the earth itself, teaching you that true stability is not found in clinging to what you have, but in fearless acceptance of what you are and what you must, one day, release. Even his name holds a secret duality. Cerberus, or Kerberos in the ancient Greek, is far more than a simple label. Some scholars trace its roots back to a Proto-Indo-European word meaning spotted. On the surface, this seems almost disappointingly simple, a mere description of a dog's mottled coat, but in the language of symbols, nothing is ever merely mundane. A spotted hide could represent a variegated, multifaceted nature, a being composed of many different energies and aspects woven into one form. It perfectly describes the creature who is not one, but three, a composite of instinct, emotion, and intellect. Yet there are other, far darker interpretations. Some etymologies link the name to ancient words for demon or, more chillingly, monster of the pit. This is not a description of appearance, but a definition of function. He is the demonic essence of the chasm itself, the embodied terror of the abyss. So which is it? Is he the spotted one, a complex but natural force, or the demon of the pit, a purely malevolent entity? The truth likely lies in the space between, revealing a being who is both the natural chaos of the psyche and the terrifying guardian we perceive when we face that chaos unprepared. This exploration of his name is not an academic exercise. In occult practices across the world, knowing the true name of a spirit is the first step to understanding its core essence. A name is not just an identifier, it is a key that unlocks the fundamental nature of a thing. To speak the true name is to touch the very blueprint of its power. By unmasking the meaning of Kerberos, we are not just learning a vocabulary word, we are performing an act of spiritual archaeology, digging down to the foundational principle he represents. We see that he is both the natural, albeit fearsome, multiplicity of our own inner world, and the projected monster we create from our own unexamined dread. So when you whisper the name Cerberus, are you calling upon the spotted complexity of your own soul, or are you summoning the demon of a pit you have not yet dared to enter? The power of the name lies in your own understanding and in the courage you bring to its pronunciation. The blackness of the Nigredo is not an empty void, but a fertile chaos. In the secret language of the alchemists, this is the first and most crucial stage of the great work, the putrefaction where the old self must decompose. It is a state of profound spiritual blackening, a confrontation with the sum of all our fears, regrets, and repressed shadows, the inner filth we spend our lives trying to avoid. And who stands as the unwavering guardian of this foul and necessary threshold? It is Cerberus, the three-headed hound, now revealed as the master of the alchemical underworld. His domain is the sealed flask where the base matter of the soul begins to rot, and his growl is the sound of your own resistance to this essential decay. He is not there to prevent the process, but to ensure you do not flee from it prematurely. You must face the beast and the blackness he protects if you ever hope to be remade. This is where his three heads reveal their ultimate alchemical secret. They are the three primal substances of the art, not as refined principles, but in their raw, chaotic, and deadly form. The first head is sulfur, the fiery spirit of your desire and your ego, now burning with blind passion and volatile rage. The second head is mercury, the fluid soul of your intellect and intuition, now poisoned with trickery, doubt, and shifting illusions. And the third head is salt, the dense body of your physical existence and ingrained habits, now crystallized into rigid, stubborn resistance. Together, they form the unholy trinity that guards the gate to your own dissolution. The alchemist's quest mirrors that of Heracles. The goal is not to slay this composite beast, for to destroy sulfur, mercury, and salt is to annihilate the very materials of transformation. The goal is to navigate past him, to willingly descend into the blackening he guards and surrender to the process. This is the dark night of the soul, where every identity you clung to, every belief you thought was solid, begins to break down into a uniform, black mass. It feels like madness, like death, because it is. It is the death of the persona, the ego, the limited you. This is the terrifying, non-negotiable price of passage. Why would anyone willingly seek this out? Because this putrefaction is the sacred precondition for all that follows. Just as a seed must break open in the dark soil, the soul must undergo this blackening to release its hidden essence. From this decomposed state, the alchemist patiently applies heat and patience, guiding the matter through the subsequent stages of whitening and yellowing until finally achieving the ultimate goal, the creation of the philosopher's stone. This stone is not a physical object. It is the enlightened self, the fully integrated being who has transmuted the raw chaos of their own Cerberus into a state of perfected, golden consciousness. The guardian you feared was never the enemy. He was the brutal, loving gatekeeper to your own rebirth. So the next time you find yourself in a period of profound darkness, when everything you thought you were seems to be falling apart, ask yourself this. Is this meaningless suffering, or is this the sacred Nigredo? Are you being punished, or is the Hound simply standing his ground, ensuring you do not turn back before the great work is done? Across the Mediterranean, another canine guardian watched over the dead, yet his purpose was strikingly different. The Egyptian god Anubis, with his sleek jackal head, stands as a fascinating mirror to the three-headed Hound of Hades. Both are powerful figures associated with death and the transition to the afterlife, but their roles could not be more distinct. Anubis is the ultimate psychopomp, a word meaning soul conductor. He is the compassionate guide who meets the newly deceased, not with snapping jaws, but with a solemn duty. His most sacred task is the weighing of the heart ceremony, where the soul's heart is placed on a scale against the feather of Maat, the goddess of truth and cosmic order. Anubis oversees this divine judgment, ensuring it is fair and precise. He then leads the worthy soul safely to its eternal rest in the field of reeds. His role is one of guidance, measurement, and merciful transition. Cerberus, in stark contrast, is the prohibitive guardian. He offers no guidance, performs no judgment. His only function is to block the way, to terrify, and to enforce the absolute law of no return. He is the embodiment of the terrifying unknown that comes before any judgment can possibly occur. So why do these two ancient cultures present such divergent visions of the afterlife's threshold? Esoterically, they are not contradictory. They represent two different phases of the very same spiritual journey. Anubis symbolizes the stage of judgment and integration that comes after the soul has successfully navigated its deepest terror. He is the guide who appears only once you have faced the raw chaos of your own being. The weighing of the heart is not a punishment. It is the ultimate act of self-assessment, where the accumulated qualities of a lifetime are measured against the weight of truth itself. To stand before Anubis is to have already passed the gate where Cerberus stands watch. The three-headed hound represents the necessary, terrifying experience of ego dissolution that must happen first. Before your heart can be weighed, before your life can be assessed, you must be stripped of the very identity that lived that life. You must confront the formless, primal fear of the unknown, the dissolution of everything you thought you were. Cerberus is the guardian of that chaotic, preconscious state. He is the experience of the dark night of the soul in its most intense form, where the individual self is broken down into its raw components, into the very instincts, emotions, and thoughts that howl from his three mouths. Anubis is the calm that comes after the storm. He is the spiritual intelligence that can only guide you after you have willingly surrendered to the dissolution that Cerberus represents. One is the process of being unmade, the other is the process of being reassessed and remade according to a higher truth. In your own life, you encounter both of these energies. The Cerberus phase is that moment of absolute crisis when a relationship shatters, a career ends, or a core belief collapses. It is pure, disorienting terror. The Anubis phase is the period of reflection that follows, when you slowly sift through the pieces of your experience, weighing what was true against what was illusion, and finally finding a new path forward with hard-won wisdom. So the next time you face a profound ending, ask yourself which guardian you are standing before. Are you in the midst of the snarling chaos of dissolution, or have you emerged on the other side, ready to weigh your heart and begin the next part of your journey? This three-headed guardian may be the ultimate jailer of the soul itself. In the ethereal world of Neoplatonic philosophy, a school of thought that blossomed in the ancient world, our entire material existence is seen as a grand and tragic illusion. The physical world you see, the body you feel, even the classical underworld of Hades with its gloomy rivers and silent shades, all of this is part of a shadowy, imperfect realm, a faint echo of a single, perfect, and divine source called the One. From this breathtaking vantage point, the myth of Cerberus is utterly transformed. He is no longer merely a guard dog for a subterranean kingdom. He becomes the living personification of everything that keeps your soul trapped in the cycle of birth, death, and rebirth, forever chained to the flickering movie screen of material existence. His three heads are not just fearsome animal features. They are the three primary forms of spiritual bondage. One head is your attachment to physical pleasure and sensory experience, the addictive belief that what you can touch and taste is the ultimate reality. The second head is your attachment to emotional dramas and personal identity, the ego's desperate need to be someone special, to cling to its story of triumph and tragedy. And the third head is your attachment to intellectual certainty, the rigid belief systems and dogmatic thoughts that create a comfortable but confining prison for your consciousness. Together, these three heads form the beast that blocks the exit from the cave of illusion. To overcome this Cerberus, then, is not about a heroic feat of strength. It is the ultimate spiritual achievement, known in these traditions as gnosis. This is not about acquiring more information or belief. Gnosis is a direct, experiential knowing, a lightning bolt of realization that shatters the illusion of separation. It is the moment you remember your own divine nature, that your true self is not this temporary body or this fleeting personality, but a spark of the perfect, eternal one. When you achieve this state of gnosis, you see Cerberus for what he truly is, a phantom, a projection of your own unexamined attachments. His growls are the empty threats of a world that has lost its power over you. His snapping jaws cannot hold a soul that has realized it was never truly imprisoned in the first place. So the next time you feel trapped by a material desire, a consuming emotional pattern, or a rigid way of thinking, ask yourself a radical question. Is this a real problem, or is it just one head of the great hound barking to keep you distracted from the luminous truth of what you really are? The ancient hound still walks in the hidden spaces of modern magic. In contemporary occult circles, from demonolatry to chaos magic, Cerberus is not feared as a literal monster, but revered as a powerful archetypal guardian. Practitioners understand him as a potent egregore, a thought form given life and power by centuries of belief and ritual. He is seen as sentinel of the liminal, a spirit that holds the keys to the thresholds between our world and the deeper spiritual realms. A modern magician does not seek to fight this entity, but to respectfully petition him, acknowledging his sovereignty over the gates he protects. The goal of such work is rarely domination. Instead, a practitioner might invoke Cerberus to establish an impenetrable spiritual barrier, one that can protect a sacred space or bind a harmful influence with the absolute finality of the underworld itself. Others may seek his favor to gain access to the hidden knowledge he guards, the profound underworld wisdom that lies buried in the subconscious or in ancestral memory. This is not a casual undertaking. The rituals involved are serious and demand meticulous preparation. A magician might create a symbolic gateway in their ritual space using icons of black dogs, three-headed figures, or old iron keys to represent his presence. They approach with clear, unwavering intent and offerings that acknowledge his chthonic nature, perhaps dark wine or stones from a riverbank. The inherent danger in this work is very real. To approach such a potent entity with a cluttered mind, a deceitful heart, or a lack of respect is to invite chaos. Cerberus, as the enforcer of cosmic law, has no patience for fools. A poorly executed invocation might not summon a physical beast, but it could unleash a torrent of primal fear, chaotic emotion, and mental confusion, the very energies of the untamed psyche that he embodies. The three heads become a mirror to the magician's own unresolved shadows. This is why proper preparation is not just a matter of ritual correctness, but a vital act of psychic self-defense. The practitioner must first have faced their own inner Cerberus, having integrated their own instincts, emotions, and intellect before they can hope to safely engage with the archetype in its externalized spiritual form. So what does it mean to call upon such a guardian today? It is an acknowledgement that the most powerful gates are not made of wood and iron, but of consciousness itself, and that the key to passing through them has always been a matter of inner sovereignty. Every one of us carries a hidden underworld within. This is the realm of the shadow, a term given to us by the pioneering psychologist Carl Jung. Your shadow is not a monster in the classical sense, but it is the keeper of every part of yourself you have ever denied, repressed, or hidden away. It holds your unexpressed rage, your secret grief, the envy you refuse to acknowledge, and the primal fears you pretend do not exist. We build walls to keep this shadow contained, fearing what might happen if it ever got out. And standing guard at the gate to this entire hidden territory is your personal Cerberus. He is not a literal beast, but the powerful, multifaceted psychological resistance that arises whenever you try to approach these disowned parts of yourself. His first head snarls with the instinct to avoid the pain of looking inward. His second head whimpers with the emotional turmoil you are afraid to unleash. And his third head spins clever rationalizations, convincing you that you are fine, that it is better to leave the past buried, that this deep work is not for you. To attempt to descend into this inner landscape is to face this guardian directly. The modern tools for this journey are not mythical weapons, but the practices of honest self-reflection, deep journaling, and therapeutic work. This is the conscious, brave act of sitting with your own discomfort, of writing down the thoughts you are ashamed of speaking your deepest fears aloud in a safe space. Each time you do this, you are offering a kind of honey cake to your inner Cerberus. You are not fighting the resistance, but acknowledging its presence and gently moving past it. The goal is integration, not elimination. That buried rage, when brought into the light and understood, can transform into a powerful force for setting boundaries. The repressed grief, when finally allowed to be felt, can release a profound capacity for empathy and joy. The primal fear, when faced with compassion, reveals itself as a source of incredible resilience. The immense psychic energy you once used to keep these aspects locked away is suddenly freed. This is the treasure that lies beyond the inner gate. You reclaim your wholeness, and with it, a personal power that is unshakable because it is built on the truth of who you entirely are, light and dark together. So the next time you feel that familiar resistance rising up, that urge to turn away from a difficult memory or a painful emotion, pause for a moment. Ask yourself, what is my Cerberus guarding so fiercely this time, and what forgotten power might I reclaim if I had the courage to simply look him in the eye and say, I see you. You are a part of me, and I am ready to come home. The growl of the ancient guardian echoes now in the glow of a movie screen and the hum of a gaming console. Fluffy, the enormous three-headed dog from Harry Potter, drowsy from an enchanted melody, is a direct descendant of the Hades myth, guarding a trapdoor that leads to a profound secret. In television shows like Supernatural, hellhounds are invisible beasts of punishment, their spectral presence simplifying the guardian into a relentless hunter. And in the video game that bears his name, Hades, Cerberus is reimagined as a lovable, if formidable, companion who still tests the player's right to pass. These modern versions often strip away the deep esoteric layers, presenting the creature as a straightforward obstacle, a boss monster to be defeated with a spell or a sword on the path to the next level. Yet even in this simplified form, kernels of the ancient symbol persist. The three heads still block a forbidden area, a hidden chamber, a gateway to another realm. They still represent a test of courage, a challenge that must be met before the hero can proceed with their quest. This continued fascination across centuries of storytelling reveals something fundamental about our collective psyche. We are still drawn to the image of the threshold guardian because we still face thresholds in our own lives. The archetype resonates because it is real. The moment you click submit on a life-changing application or walk into a room for a crucial interview, you are facing your own version of Fluffy guarding the trapdoor. The anxiety that claws at you is your personal hellhound, demanding you prove your mettle. These pop culture appearances keep the symbolic essence of Cerberus alive by placing him in modern contexts we immediately understand. They remind us that every journey worth taking has its gatekeepers, its moments of terror that must be confronted. So the next time you see a three-headed beast in a game or a film, look past the computer-generated spectacle. Ask yourself what forbidden knowledge or transformative challenge it is protecting in that story, and then consider what gate in your own life feels just as fiercely guarded, and what key you might need to gently calm the beast and walk through. The three-headed hound finds a direct celestial counterpart in the distant, icy world of Pluto. In the language of astrology, Pluto is not merely a planet. It is the archetypal ruler of the underworld, the governor of all that lies buried and hidden. This celestial body symbolizes profound transformation, raw power, the death of the old, and the difficult, necessary rebirth that follows. It governs the deepest caverns of our subconscious mind, the memories we have repressed, the primal fears we refuse to name, and the shadowy power dynamics that control our lives from the shadows. Cerberus, in all his monstrous glory, is the perfect mythological symbol for the intense and often terrifying processes that Pluto unleashes. When astrologers look at an individual's birth chart, the placement of Pluto points to the core area of life where we will encounter our most profound crises and, ultimately, our most potent regenerations. It is the part of your destiny where you are destined to face your own personal Cerberus, to be broken down to your essential components, and then rebuilt with a power that is truly your own. But this is not a one-time event. Throughout your life, you will experience what is known as a Pluto transit, when the slow-moving planet forms a significant angle to a sensitive point in your chart. This transit is a period of immense, unavoidable pressure. It feels like the ground is crumbling beneath your feet. A relationship you thought was solid might shatter. A career you built over decades might suddenly become meaningless. A deep-seated trauma you thought was healed might resurface with volcanic force. This is the Pluto process in action. It is the celestial equivalent of descending into Hades and coming face to face with the snarling guardian. The three heads of your crisis are all there. One head is the death of an old identity, the version of yourself you have outgrown. The second head is the emotional turmoil of letting go, the grief and rage that feel like they might consume you. The third head is the power struggle, the confrontation with control, whether you are trying to control others or being controlled by circumstances beyond your grasp. To fight this process is futile. You cannot argue with a Pluto trance at any more than you can reason with a mythological monster. The only path forward is the path of surrender. You must allow the old structures to collapse. You must willingly walk into the emotional underworld and sit with the darkness until it reveals its purpose. This is the alchemical putrefaction, the sacred breakdown that makes the breakthrough possible. When you finally stop resisting, when you accept the death of what was, you pass the guardian. You are no longer fighting the beast, you are integrating its power. The relationship that ended needed to die so you could discover a more authentic way to connect. The career that collapsed was a cage, and its destruction freed you to pursue your true calling. The trauma that surfaced was a buried treasure of strength, waiting for you to be brave enough to reclaim it. A Pluto trance, it does not punish you, it forges you. It burns away everything that is not essential to your soul's purpose, leaving behind a core of unshakable, authentic power. So the next time your life enters a period of profound and painful upheaval, look to the heavens. Consider that you might be in the grip of a celestial initiation, standing before the gate that Cerberus guards. What profound rebirth is this crisis preparing you for, and what incredible power might be waiting for you on the other side of the fear? The number 3 hums with a sacred vibration across the world's spiritual traditions. It is the geometry of creation itself, a divine pattern echoed in the very structure of our reality. In Christianity, it is the Holy Trinity, the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit as 3 distinct persons in one Godhead. In Wicca and ancient pagan paths, it is the triple goddess, the eternal cycle of the maiden, mother, and crone. Hinduism speaks of the 3 gunas, the fundamental qualities that weave the cosmos, sattva for purity and harmony, rajas for passion and activity, and tamas for inertia and darkness. Even our own existence is often framed as a trinity of mind, body, and spirit. This is not a coincidence. The number 3 represents a complete process, a beginning, a middle, and an end, the dynamic dance of thesis, antithesis, and synthesis. Cerberus in his terrifying 3-headed form is a living monument to this universal principle. He is not a random monster with extra parts. He is a perfect expression of the triune nature of cosmic forces, especially in their most raw and untamed state. His 3 heads embody the chaotic, often conflicting, interplay of these fundamental energies. One head may be pure tamas, the heavy inertia of despair that chains a soul to the past. Another may be rajas, the frantic, possessive energy of unchecked emotion and desire. The third could be sattva, but in a distorted form, a cold, detached intellect that observes without compassion. The genius of the symbol, however, lies not in the separation, but in the unity. Cerberus is one creature. A single body supports the 3 snarling heads, and a single will directs them all. This reveals the profound secret that these 3 aspects of existence, while they may seem to pull us in different directions, are ultimately part of one unified whole. The instinct, the emotion, and the intellect are not independent enemies warring within you. They are 3 expressions of the same underlying consciousness, 3 heads of the same inner guardian. To move past Cerberus, then, is not to defeat 3 separate beasts. It is to achieve a state of inner synthesis. It is the moment you stop seeing your primal fear, your overwhelming grief, and your rigid thoughts as disconnected problems. You begin to understand how your fear fuels your rigid thoughts and how your grief feeds your fear. You see the dynamic interplay, and in that seeing, you start to harmonize them. This is the alchemy of the self, where opposites are reconciled. Your raw instinct, when acknowledged, grounds your spirituality in reality. Your deep emotion, when felt fully, gives passion and purpose to your intellect. Your clear intellect, when freed from dogma, provides wise direction for your powerful instincts. The 3 heads cease their snarling conflict and become a coordinated, conscious force. This integrated state is the higher being you become when you successfully navigate your own underworld. The guardian was never blocking the exit, he was waiting for you to understand the sacred geometry of your own soul. So what three seemingly separate struggles in your life are actually just different heads of the same challenge, waiting for your unifying awareness to finally calm the chaos. That river of black, silent water is not just the boundary Cerberus patrols. It is the very substance of the oath itself. The ancient Styx represents something far deeper than a mythical river. Esoterically, it is the great stream of unconsciousness, the waters of forgetfulness that the soul must cross to enter a new state of being. To step into its current is to willingly let go of the solid ground of your known identity, to surrender the memories and attachments that define who you think you are. This is why the waters were so sacred and so feared. Even the gods of Olympus, in their most dire moments, would swear their most binding promises by the river Styx. A vow made on these waters was unbreakable, its violation resulting in a year of breathless coma and 9 years of exile from the divine council. There was no greater power to bind a promise, because the oath was sworn upon the very source of transformation and oblivion. This mythic truth holds a profound key for your own journey. To pass the three-headed guardian and cross this inner river, you cannot simply be curious or casually interested in change. You must make a vow of absolute sincerity to yourself. The commitment required is as binding as any Styx oath sworn by the gods. It is a pledge to face the truth, no matter how uncomfortable. It is a vow to walk the spiritual path with unwavering dedication, even when every instinct screams to turn back. It is a sacred promise to integrate your shadow, to finally embrace the parts of you that you have exiled and forgotten in the dark waters of your own mind. This oath is the price of passage. Without this profound, unbreakable commitment, Cerberus will always block your way because he is the enforcer of cosmic law. He knows that a soul not fully dedicated to its own transformation will only falter in the underworld, becoming another lost shade trapped by its own half-measures. So the next time you stand at the edge of a major life change, ask yourself what vow you are truly willing to make. What promise to your own growth is so sacred, so absolute, that you would swear it on the black waters of your deepest fears. This final, terrifying obstacle was likely staged in absolute darkness. For the initiates of the Eleusinian mysteries, the most sacred and secret rites of the ancient world, the journey was not a myth to be heard, but an experience to be lived. They did not merely learn about the descent of Persephone into the underworld, they symbolically reenacted it themselves, moving through a labyrinth of ritual chambers that mirrored the path of the soul after death. And at the most critical juncture of this simulated descent, just before the promised revelation, they would have encountered him, the three-headed guardian of the ultimate threshold. The air would have grown cold, the silence broken only by the sound of their own hearts pounding. Perhaps a massive, shadowy form was unveiled, or a chorus of guttural growls echoed from unseen corners of the temple. This was not a story, but a test. The initiate, stripped of their former identity and plunged into sensory deprivation, stood face to face with the embodiment of their own primal fear of annihilation. Cerberus was the final examination of their resolve. Could they hold their nerve when every instinct screamed to flee from the abyss? The sacred secret of Eleusis was not a piece of information, but a state of being, an epiphany of divine connection and the promise of life beyond death. But that sublime vision could not be granted to someone still paralyzed by the terror of the gatekeeper. To receive the light, you first had to prove you could walk through the deepest dark without turning back. The ritual encounter with the Hound would have taught them the precise spiritual technology required to navigate the afterlife. You do not fight the guardian. You understand his purpose. You recognize that his snarling is the sound of your own attachment to the material world, your fear of losing your individual self. The initiates were likely taught a specific stance of the soul, a way to project calm acceptance and inner sovereignty that would pacify the beast, just as Orpheus did with his music. By facing the symbolic Cerberus and passing his test, they were not just watching a play, They were forging a new neural pathway, a deep cellular memory that they could carry into the actual moment of death. They were learning that the terrifying guardian is not the end of the journey, but the very door to liberation. So the next time you face a fear that seems absolute, a point of no return in your own life, remember the initiates in the dark temple. What profound revelation might be waiting on the other side of that fear, if only you could learn the secret of passing the guardian without a fight? Perhaps the ultimate secret of the underworld is that its greatest terror is also its most loyal guide. This is the profound esoteric flip, a reimagining of the guardian that transforms the entire journey. In many shamanic traditions across the globe, the initiate does not seek to destroy the terrifying spirits they meet in altered states of consciousness. Instead, they learn to approach them with immense respect, to face the fear they evoke, and through that courageous encounter, negotiate a relationship. A spirit that first appears as a monstrous predator can, with the right intent and offering, become a powerful ally, a source of hidden knowledge and protection on the difficult path. Cerberus, in his full three-headed glory, operates on this exact spiritual principle. He is not simply a mindless obstacle to be knocked down. He is the ultimate gatekeeper whose purpose is to test the authenticity and readiness of every soul that approaches his post. His ferocity is the method of the examination. The real question he poses is not about physical strength, but about inner sovereignty. Can you stand in the presence of your own compounded chaos without being consumed by it? Can you face the simultaneous snarl of your primal instincts, your emotional storms, and your rigid intellect without fleeing back into denial? When you can do that, when you prove you have mastered the very energies he embodies, his role shifts dramatically. He is no longer blocking your path. He is confirming you are ready to walk it. The monster becomes the mentor, the jailer becomes the guide. His immense power, which once threatened to tear you apart, now transforms into a protective force for your journey through the shadowy realms of your own psyche. He does not abandon his post. Instead, he becomes the guardian of your specific path, his presence ensuring that lesser fears and distractions cannot assail you as you navigate the inner labyrinth. Think of a moment when you faced a deep-seated anxiety, not by running from it, but by sitting with it, understanding its roots, and acknowledging its power. In that moment of calm acceptance, the anxiety did not vanish, but its character changed. It lost its sharp, predatory edge and became a simple fact, a piece of data you could work with. That is the personal ceremony of passing Cerberus. You are not destroying your fear, you are integrating it, and in doing so, the energy that was once used to guard against you is now aligned with your purpose. So the next time you confront an inner demon that seems immovable, ask not how to defeat it, but what it would take to earn its respect. What quality of courage, what depth of self-awareness would make this fierce guardian step aside and silently nod you forward into the depths of your own becoming. That monstrous guardian does not only patrol the banks of a mythical river, he appears in the shadowy landscape of your dreams, a direct messenger from your subconscious mind. When Cerberus appears in your dreams, often as a multi-headed dog or a similar terrifying guardian blocking your path, your psyche is sending you an urgent, symbolic dispatch. This is not a random nightmare. It is a profound reflection of a waking life situation where you feel completely overwhelmed. Each snarling head can represent a different problem attacking you simultaneously, a conflict at work, a strain in a relationship, and a personal health concern, all demanding your attention at once. The beast itself embodies the feeling of being trapped, of having your progress blocked by a force that feels too massive and ferocious to confront. This dream is a clear signal that you are standing at a significant inner threshold, paralyzed by the fear of what lies on the other side. Perhaps you are avoiding a difficult conversation, resisting a necessary career change, or refusing to acknowledge a painful truth about yourself. The dream Cerberus is the embodiment of that resistance, the part of you that would rather snarl and threaten than allow you to cross into the unknown territory of a resolved conflict or a new chapter of your life. Yet there is another, far more hopeful version of this dream. If you dream of successfully calming the beast, perhaps by offering it food or speaking to it calmly, or if you find a way to walk peacefully past it, this is one of the most powerful symbols your subconscious can offer. It signifies that you are actively integrating your shadow self, that you are finding the courage to face your compounded fears, and are on the verge of a major psychological breakthrough. This dream suggests you are mastering your primal instincts, understanding your turbulent emotions, and freeing your intellect from its own traps. You are not destroying your challenges. You are learning to navigate them with a new, profound sense of inner sovereignty. The next time you wake from such a vivid encounter, do not simply shake it off. Keep a journal by your bed and write down every detail you can recall. What did the guardian look like? How did you feel in its presence? Most importantly, ask yourself what gate you are facing in your waking life. What transition feels so daunting that your mind must dress it up as a mythological beast to show you its true power? Your dream is not a portent of doom. It is a map, and the three-headed hound is simply the landmark showing you where your greatest growth awaits. So we arrive at the end of our descent, standing not before a monster, but before a mirror. The three-headed hound of Hades is unmasked, revealing himself as one of the most profound and layered symbols ever conceived by the human spirit. He is the eternal guardian of the threshold, the living embodiment of the triune nature of reality, and the snarling voice of our own untamed subconscious. He is the chthonic power of the earth and the final examination on the path of spiritual initiation. From the dark soil of ancient myth to the glowing screen of modern media, his form shifts, but his purpose remains constant: to test our readiness to cross from one state of being into another. Facing Cerberus is not a one-time heroic act relegated to legend. It is a universal and ongoing process in the human experience. It is the moment you stand at the brink of a life-changing decision, when the chorus of your fears, your doubts, and your attachments rises up in a unified howl, trying to frighten you back into the familiar. It is the inner resistance you feel when you attempt to heal an old wound or break a destructive pattern. This confrontation happens in the therapist's office, in the quiet of meditation, and in the stark reality of everyday crises. The journey of unmasking him is the journey of unmasking ourselves, of learning that the beast we fear is composed of the very energies we need to reclaim our wholeness. Perhaps the three-headed hound of Hades never truly guards a gate in a land of the dead, but rather the gate within ourselves, waiting for the day we find the courage to turn the key. What threshold guardian have you faced in your own life? Share your experiences in the comments below, and if you are ready to explore more symbols hidden in plain sight, subscribe for our next deep dive into the world of esoteric wisdom.